Hello and welcome back to RCI TV. The Thursday GT4 Championship continues as we hurtle towards the end of the season with a magnificent championship battle on display today. Hello, I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Tim Peck and Christian Stricker on the cameras, as always, with you on your Thursday. We hope you're well wherever you are. And Tim, let's get right into it. We have a championship fight.
We do. We have both Fischer and Verstappen fighting out at the front, with Fischer leading Verstappen by just 2 points. So it's a very close championship at the moment. With only 2 rounds and 4 races left, it is everything to play for here. So we're going to watch now, actually, as Fischer does his first laps of the practice session. Go around the track, he's sitting pretty in the top 10 right now. Verstappen is currently P2, so if Fischer wants to fight for this championship, he's going to want to get a wiggle on.
Well, we were anxiously waiting Fischer's arrival into the server. He's very fashionably late. It's been consistent for Garrett this entire championship being here a bit late, but we were a little bit nervous.
Yeah, especially when you have a title on your hands as well. And with about 5 minutes to go, he finally showed up, and that was a huge sigh of relief because, I mean, when you've got 2 drivers that are that close in the points, it's just thrilling to watch them battle it out, and it's going to be, I reckon, a very exciting 4 races from now. We've got obviously here, and then next week we'll be heading off to Spain for the final 2 races of the season. So today we're here at Zandvoort. It's the, I believe it's the Dutch track, the Netherlands track. So yeah, it's mostly well known for its qualifying. Reportedly not so great at racing here, but these are GT4 cars. They are used to breaking traditions, and I'm sure we will see some absolutely brilliant racing here today as everyone scrambles for those final few points in the season.
We talked about the championship. We talked about the fact that we're at Zandvoort, and you touched on the big ticket item. GT3s, whenever we bring them here, it is a fight for real estate. There's not a whole lot of it. And on top of that, passing here is usually done with a little bit of a shove. And GT4s is not quite that argy-bargy, as the cars are a bit smaller and they have a bit less power and perhaps a bit more maneuverable. I think you'll see some decent passes, but of course, around a track as small and tight as Zandvoort, it will certainly put on a show, whether that be for a good reason or a bad reason. Everybody, go ahead, get yourself a drink, get yourself some popcorn. You are not going to want to go anywhere. Last week, I nearly passed out from screaming at the end of that race, and you wouldn't normally think a Snetterton race would be that interesting, but goodness me, was it.
Snetterton was an absolutely brilliant race. We had our championship leaders fighting out just to place themselves in the top 10. We had 2 brand new winners. I believe it was Mikowski and Boardman. They got themselves up there on the board, and Mikowski, I believe, is now fighting for 4th place in the championship and looks like he could maybe steal third away from Abeladze. So we've got a lot to fight for here today. If we're talking real, though, about this qualifying, obviously practice is not realistic on the times, but Fischer significantly behind Verstappen so far, so probably going to be looking for a bit more out of qualifying as we start it off. You've got 10 minutes time around here. I don't know, I actually missed what they were doing the practice session, but you're probably only getting 6 shots at a fast lap, so you've got to make every single lap count here.
Yeah, strangely enough, unlike a GT3 where you get plenty of time in a 10-minute qualifying session, here with these cars being slower, you don't really have that cushion. It is a relatively compact track, but it is also a fairly long one with a considerable amount of low-speed corners. Case in point, right around here, and Billy Octane, who is back in his Maserati. And, of course, that is a bit of a handful and will continue to be a handful. That car, as we've documented throughout this championship, no traction control, no ABS. So fully on the driver to get that car around here. And remind me, traction control, useful in low-speed corners. And we have a lot of low-speed corners here, yes?
Yes, traction control is very much appreciated, I would say, for the low-speed corners. So maybe struggling a little bit around here, Octane maybe, but I think if anyone can put some interesting sort of moves down, and it's definitely him. Speaking of the cars, really, surprisingly, Verstappen's been driving the Chevrolet throughout the championship. Not a car we thought would particularly stand out, but as we know, he's currently second. He's 2 points off Fischer, so a lot of cars have stood out in this championship. We did have KTM at one point. I don't believe he's here with us today. But it's definitely been a time for the slightly weirder cars to rise up and show what they can do. So we're starting our first couple of laps now of qualifying. Rubliar will be leading the main pack, and we will see what sort of times he'll be setting. Rubliar, particularly good in the qualifying sessions, has put himself in some lovely positions. Not so consistent when it comes to the races, so I imagine he'll be hoping to get a fairly consistent result today.
Rubliar has been at the front of the pack, and the back of the pack been passed around like a beach ball. It's been that kind of championship. It hasn't been too kind for the Big One Esports Club Audi, but hopefully can get one up on them today, as there's a championship fight. There's a fight throughout the points. We've got some surprise no-shows today, some surprise no-shows from last week that has had huge implications as well. We'll get to that with the standings after qualifying, as per usual. And, well, not to say too much, Tim Peck, but this should have been a three-way fight today for the championship lead, but we have had a driver sign out for today's race. It's a bit of a shame.
It is a shame, and we have had, of course, that driver sign out as the first times do actually come through now. We've got a couple of 144s on the board. Following through now with Fenchik, we've got a 145 out there. So I imagine for qualifying, we're going to be seeing a lot of 144s dipping into the 143s, obviously, when the track becomes more optimum. At the moment, it is only fast, so these GT4s are just currently trying to find some time and get up to speed. So you can see everyone coming through now. A lot of 144s are being laid down, but as we said, someone has dropped out of the championship. This was supposed to be a three-way fight this evening, and the person that dropped out is, unfortunately, the person who, as we know, was leading the championship so far. But we'll get to that later when we're looking at the standings and the implications it may have for future races as well. But for now, I think Fischer and Verstappen would just be happy that they've got this second redemption for the fight for first place. And, well, as we can see now, they're definitely trying to keep themselves in the pack. Verstappen is slightly ahead of Fischer at the moment in qualifying, but we've still got 5 minutes left, so there's plenty of time for Fischer to put himself above Verstappen, which, as we have said, is going to be the ideal situation here. Remember, where you qualify is probably going to be where you finish on this track, as there's not a lot of opportunities for overtaking.
Well, we talked in the pre-race, or the pre-show, I should say, you and me, Tim, that I reckon that it was a 4-horse race coming into today, and Mikowski, who is in fourth in the championship, has some work to do, but so far in this Q session is the stronger of all those drivers. And remember, 2 races, 65 points per race. You can make up a lot of ground in just one weekend, and it's looking good for the 570 so far. Verstappen, by the way, speaking of looking good, we talked about the Chevrolet maybe being a dark horse pick in the championship, has hung around all season and is having a shot at the championship. He's going to have a shot at the pole, and he's going to lose it in the final couple of turns. A 44.409, the 4th fastest time so far, but that's right around where that Chevrolet has been most of the season.
And I'm actually noticing a lot of them are already going back to the pit lane, so maybe the strategy here was just to do some low fuel runs and try and get out a fast lap quickly in only a couple of laps. Obviously, every minute you spend in the pit lane is another, well, minute you're going to lose on the track, really. But Mikowski really has shone out in these past few races. He had a rough start, hence why he's dropped a little bit back in the championship. But I'd say from Donington onwards, he has been really showing us what he can do. As we're now watching Lawrence, who's on a really good lap for him. He's currently 5 tenths up on his time, so let's see where that is going to place him. That could be pole position. And it's going to be second place. He's just off by 200ths of a second. So Mikowski is not in a safe zone yet. He's going to want to put out some fast laps if he wants to hold on to this position, as we've got cars from all over the place diving for pole here.
Yeah, it's nice. We were talking also about who might be, or what manufacturer might be the favorite here Well, we have a lot of GT3 data, but not a lot of GT4 data around here. And Tim Peck, I don't think there's a particular favorite. It's Aston, AMG, BMW, Porsche, and then Chevrolet, your top five. How's that for brand parity?
Well, it is a big mix here, and we were saying we have absolutely no idea which car is going to come out on top. I'd have guessed it would have been the Aston Martin, but it looks like my guess isn't going to be entirely correct. As you said, there's just a whole mix here, but it's definitely nice to see. It's always nice when the cars are mixing about and sort of doing their own thing, really, and just, you know, having a wide range of them in the top five. You have tracks like Imola and Zolder, where we were early on the season, which was just basically a BMW show. We had BMWs all over the top 10, and I say most of the top 5 were BMWs as well. So it's nice to see a bit of a range here. BMWs, actually, other than towards Zidlow, I'd say they're looking like they're struggling a little bit on this track, if not anything, and that probably comes down to the fact that there's a lot of corners and not a lot of straights for them to really get out their top speed on. So although it's a very good car for the corners, it does lose out to the Aston Martins and the Mercedes. So I think we might see a little bit out of the Mercedes today. I imagine the Porsches will show up as well, but other than that, I don't think there's any car that has a significant lasting advantage here.
I don't, it certainly doesn't appear like it, as the times are coming down, but they're also getting stacked up more close together. We were riding with Calandrino in the number 12. Guy Camelli, a teammate slash friend of his in our chat, cheering him on. Nice to see you here, Danielle, cheering on the number 12. Hopefully they can bring it home, as they are certainly trying to do a little bit better than fourth place, but even so, fourth place is still second row of the grid. You can't do too much better from that from a view standpoint. And we are with Max Wajna, who is navigating the cars that are not on a quick lap, navigating the track itself, which is sometimes more trickier than actually trying to race other people. Of course, this track is got a lot of twists, a lot of blind corners, got some elevation thrown in there. It's absolute classic, this.
Yes, it's a very twisty, turny track, and there's a lot of places where you can just, well, I mean, we saw early in the practice, you can just disappear. I can't remember who it was, but someone just clipped one of those curbs a little too much and ended up in the walls. We actually see now Wojna is going to meet the wall. So, yeah, there's a lot of places where you can go slightly wrong here, and you will be punished quite harshly for it. The walls are very close to the track in some areas, and although there is a runoff, it's not very huge. Coming back to the championship fight quickly, Verstappen and Fischer, currently only Wojna is breaking them up, so they're not at the front, but they're close enough to each other to not let one run away with the championship completely. As we see Verstappen actually coming across the line, this could be pole. He is up on his time. Let's see whether he has managed to do it. And he has put himself in pole. So Verstappen now is in the perfect spot. We're coming right into the qualifying, and I'm not sure if Fischer is going to be able to do anything to answer back to that. He's not up on his time. So Verstappen, dying on pole. Fischer, his championship rival, is not going to be where he wants to be, down in 8th place.
Well, this is very interesting. I was just going to say that Mikowski's doing exactly what they need to do. His nearest rivals were 5 places back. That's about 15 or 20 points difference between the two, and if he was able to replicate that a few times, he could more than cut the deficit in half. But Verstappen coming in the final moments and going pole, that 139, ranking supreme so far. 66 100ths off the second, off of the pole in second is Mikowski. But what does Fabio Calandrino has for SPQ Racing as they come to the line? It's looking good, folks, and it is going to be provisional pole. Our first 43.947, the very first 43 we've seen, nearly 2/10 better than anyone else. Verstappen has called it quits, is down in the pit lane. Mikowski, though, still on a flying lap. Does anyone have anything from Calandrino? That 43.947 was mega.
And a brilliant lap from Calandrino. He has been so good at qualifying, just in every single track so far, and this will be, I believe, his second pole position if he does manage to hold on to it here. We're having the last couple of cars come over the line. Looking at the data, I'd say none of them have a huge improvement coming, but you never know, someone may spring up out of nowhere, and it looks like Fischer.
Fischer needed something down in 10th. They needed something, and they didn't get it there, and waving the white flag, the proverbial white flag, of course, by coming into the pit lane. Oh my goodness. Well, that is going to end qualifying, Tim Peck. We're going to get to pre-race summary and analysis, but before we can do that, we have to run you through the championship points. Absolutely incredible stuff. Of course, all these drivers are pros. Garrett Fisher leads the championship after Abeladze was a no-show at Stedderton a week ago, 363 points. Christoph Verstappen in second place, 2 points behind him, and Abeladze, who was a no-show a week ago, is third, just 2 points. Well, excuse me, he crashed out last week, excuse me, and did not come back for race two and is a no-show this week for Abeladze. He's actually only 4 points off out of the championship lead and 2 points out of second place. But Abeladze has signed out this week. He will take no part in this week's race. We talked about Mikowski in the pre-race at 301 points. That is within one race, not one round, one race points out of the championship lead, still in this with 4 races left to go, and could be a factor coming down the stretch. Behind them in fifth place, Minnow Crozen with a decent gap, 224 points for him. Calendarino, who's on pole here for the second time this season at 216, looking to do damage from the pole position. Andy Boardman, who scored their first win of the season a week ago in seventh place. Chris Rubliar in eighth, Svinchek ninth, and John Rasser are your top 10.
And coming up in 11th place, we have Zarka, who's in the Porsche. Towards Zidlow, who's shown up. He wasn't there for the first couple of races, but he has been a very strong competitor since and really been trying to push for those victories. I don't believe he's managed to find it yet, so this is probably going to be his first shot at it here. Harsford is tied with points Buckzek, both 13th and 14th, 163 points. Jake Boswell will bring up 15th with Tom Bryant just behind him as well in 16th. Harley Chamberlain, the Mercedes, is currently 17th with Jordan Daly just behind him, 18th. Those are your 4 British drivers here, all going to be pushing for a good result today. Lawrence is in 19th and Ertan will round out the top 20 in the KTM.
Jake Boswell will be happy I didn't call him an old man this week. Nathan McConnell in 21st place, who I believe was in our chat lamenting something. I'm not sure what that was, but Darren Maholland in 22nd. This is where y'all gets very close indeed between all of these drivers. Max Wagner in the 23rd place, Wolf Patushka 24th, Phil Roberts all very close. And outside the top 25, Neil Pimlott, Joseph Varga, Luke Wigg, and Gasper 29 and all of Leffa in 30th place, a fair few points back. Little groups of cars all racing each other, Tim.
And these are your bottom runners just currently struggling to get any points right now. We'll be looking to pick up just a couple of points here and there to put themselves a little bit above everyone else. 31st is Vasilev, followed by Hoopner, who is tied currently with Octane, who we mentioned earlier is driving the Maserati there. No traction control or ABS on that car. Crozen is down in 34th, followed by Lardier, Magnani, Hovarth, and Jelinek will round out our top 38. And I believe from here on out, everyone is disqualified from the championship. So Borodai, we know, was disqualified earlier, and Katailud is also disqualified now for penalty points.
So one note on the 933 here, Samuel Villa was disqualified from the championship by being a no-show. What is a no-show? It's very simple. Whenever you are going to miss a round of the championship, you have to sign out. You have all week right up until race time to sign out. And if you don't, it counts as a no-show. No-shows are not tolerated. And what has happened is Samuel Villa has been disqualified from the championship based on, being a no-show a week ago. That was a big storyline for us, Tim, a week ago, was where was Samuel Villa? We still don't know where Samuel Villa was, but we do know they did not sign out. So they have been disqualified and their points are void. So unfortunate there, as of course you get near the end of a season, you start to drop drivers. Of course, we talked about Abeladze, who has signed out after a rough week last week, but we still have a championship fight on our hands. What happens? Mikowski starting from third. Can they do some damage? Can they get some points back? What can Verstappen do? Can Verstappen, with all of that power and that thunder down the straightaway, can they beat a Porsche? We know in GT3s the Porsches usually qualify well, but they don't race as well. Is that going to come up in GT4s? Is the Aston going to come into its own here? What can Garrett Fisher do, the championship leader from the back half of the top 10? There's so many storylines and, well, a 30-minute race.
And just to add to all that excitement, there is rain due in 30 minutes time, so that could spice things up, especially if it hits just before those final couple of laps. And I mean, if it does hit, the call I'm gonna guess here is if it only 5 minutes after the race, is you're just gonna have to suck it up and race through the rain, which could mix up the grid quite a lot, especially if a lot of people are not so confident on those dry tyres in the rain. But it's like you said, Verstappen currently starting second and looking for a good run up on Calendarino on that first corner. Fisher, who leads the championship by just 2 points on Verstappen, is starting down in 10th on a track where there are not a lot of opportunities to fight through. And just to remind you all that qualifying does set the grid for both races as well, so race 2 will not be influenced by the results in race 1 in any way, and Fisher will be starting 10th for both of the races now. Not an ideal start to the week for Fisher, and I'm sure he's going to be looking for something to happen to just get him back those couple of points, whether it's hopefully Verstappen's misfortune for him, or whether he can get some good fortune just through someone else. And Fisher's going to be giving it his all so far this week. He just needs to find something here, really, if he wants a shot next week at Spain to keep the championship.
We got Jordy in chat saying, in my homeland, the Netherlands. Well, I am glad that you're home. And by the way, welcome home. And Christian Stricker also has ties to here as well. Actually, I believe he's not too far from the racetrack here as well. So welcome home to our broadcaster as well. And for those of you that may be curious, some of you may have spotted that in 10 minutes it's going to be cloudy plus. I guess clouds intensifying. I don't think I've ever seen that. In fact, I heard a commotion at the back of the box trying to figure out what cloud plus means. Usually you get rain plus or rain negative or minus, which means that the rain's going to intensify or lessen. I suppose that means that it is going to get more cloudy before it starts raining, but we will potentially have rain at some point that will change things quite a bit. Rounding the final turn as we get ready to go green for race 1 of 2 today. 2 30-minute races, 65 points on it for the winner. Championship battle, just a couple of points between Verstappen and Fisher. Mikowski starting from the second row, looking to do some damage from 4th place, will likely end up 3rd after today, but has a 63-point disadvantage. What can they do? What will they do? Where will they finish? We can only wonder as they go green here, and falling back immediately is Martin Lawrence trying to get out of the middle and kind of does side by side up front. Verstappen trying to push the issue, can't quite get it done. Here comes Mikowski. It's going to be a touch. It's going to be a touch from Mikowski as he sends Verstappen, who somehow saves it. Mikowski gets on the brakes and doesn't end up turning him at all, and they're all single file, and they're all be lucky that they survived that. It's not so lucky back here as several cars are sideways. Is that Harley Chamberlain on the inside of the turn taking avoiding action? I think it is.
I think Verstappen just watched his entire race flash before his eyes there. That was very close to going straight off into the wall there, and he only just caught it and managed to rejoin the track safely. So Verstappen almost lost it all, and Fisher would have been happy if he did, but unfortunately for Fisher, Verstappen will stay on the track, and I mean happily for Verstappen to stay on the track. Fisher managed to find himself a place there. He's currently in 9th, which means somewhere along the line he fought his way through. We don't know how it happened, but it could have just been a natural overtake on the first corner. I mean, we saw Verstappen had a much better start than Calendarino. I thought personally he was going to make it through on the first corner, but he did have to put his foot on the brake there, and a little too hard found himself back behind Calendarino again. But I think we're seeing some slight drops of rain here. I can't quite tell if that's my eyes playing tricks on me or maybe just a bit of hopefulness, but I keep feeling like I see the occasional drop of rain here. So rain already starting to fall. That is only going to make the track worse over time and put a lot of pressure on these drivers to just try and take it that little bit easier and maybe stay on the track a little bit more. Mikowski is right there for Verstappen and getting a good run up onto that start-finish straight. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make anything happen here, but already not a lot of action, but Mikowski almost gave a nice lot of action for Verstappen. So it's just really a case here of how much can you stay on the track and what can you do. As we see Fisher is he defending there, or is he trying to go on the inside? I believe he's going on the inside of Vodchin there, and he is through as well. So Verstappen is making up those positions as he gets up. This will be 8th place for him. I mean, what a start for Fisher there.
Well, Fisher knows what they have to do. Fisher has to get a move on. Didn't qualify quite as good as they would have liked. Still in the top 10, so it wasn't exactly panic mode, but you got to get these positions when the getting's good, and the getting's only good at the start of the race. So up 2 spots, that will do nicely for a start for the man behind the wheel of the 78. Chris Rubliar in 7th place, actually just in front of him. Taking a look at Andy Boardman. How many times have we seen Rubliar and Boardman together in this championship? I think they might end up having nightmares at the end of this championship. Calendarino has a very tentative lead over Verstappen out front. Mikowski, who is right there as the caboose, and so is Martin Lawrence, by the way, for as not great as that initial start was for the 171. They have maintained their position as we go in car with Rubliar through the chicane here, and highlighting the issue or the magnitude of the issue here at Zandvoort. Unless they make a mistake, it is really hard to pass.
And that Audi, I know we said that a lot of these cars are very similar to Ken, but I'd say the Audi doesn't really compare to a Porsche, especially on a track like this. The Porsche is just going to have the upper hand for those corners. So Rubliar has a lot on his plate right now. To talk about some of the driver's strengths and weaknesses here, I'd say a recurring theme so far this championship has been Verstappen starts high up in the grid and spends his entire time defending very, very well, but he does spend a lot of his time defending. Fisher, on the other hand, tends to have accidents in the first couple of laps, not necessarily his fault, and jots back, but then Fisher, I'd say, is known for just climbing through that grid as quickly as possible. He is so good at the overtaking. He always knows how and where to do it safely. So I'd say, even though Fisher did start a little bit back, this is what he is known for. It's not going to be unlikely for him to climb through a pack very quickly here, as we actually see him now coming up on Rubliar, who is trying to find his way through Boardman. So Fisher might be the person to find that move, as it looks like he's looking for a bit on the inside. I'm not sure he's going to find it here, so he may just want to hang back that little bit and try and find
Garrett
that.
Fisher's about to make a space. Oh my goodness!
And it looks like Rubliar is going to be holding him off, but Fisher, like I said, he knows where to make the overtake happen. He's touching Rubliar again. He is still trying to make this happen, and he looks like he's going to go. Oh, that is around the outside of Wodgner, so he's just trying to hold on to that position now. But Fisher, if he can just find this distance to Rubliar, if he can get close enough to him for the final corner, I'd say that Fisher will be through already. So he's got the tools at his disposal. He needs to make it happen. And Wodgner is actually now giving him a little bit of a nudge and saying, get a move on. You've come through me. Will you go?
Well, the thing is, that was a couple of moves Fisher tried to make on Rubliar. Rubliar was absolutely having none of that. Said, no, mate, you're not going down the inside. I'm not giving you this place. I don't care you're fighting for a championship. I am fighting for a position. So completely legal. Nothing that happened there was out of line or out of order in any way. It is tough racing, and it is a product. It's fascinating to watch. It is frustrating as a driver. I can tell you that. We are seeing rain on the camera and perhaps on the windscreens as well, which is strange because it's actually supposed to still be cloudy. It isn't supposed to properly rain for another 8 or 9 minutes from now. So a bit perplexing, a bit puzzling to say the least, but there will be rain, light rain, before the end of this race. I don't think anyone will be diving down the pit lane for any sort of wet weather compound. I just don't think there'd be enough time, even if it did get wet enough, to warrant it. So what I can tell you is the track did, when it started drizzling, it did go from optimum to fast, so the track is not quite as grippy or fast as it was in qualifying. A big slide out of Verstappen, trying to get that Chevrolet off of the corner, and that's actually going to do nothing but hurt his turn off. And Mikowski, who is hounding him now, the gap has opened up. Calendarino 1.5 seconds on Verstappen, but I wonder if that has something to do with the pace of the Chevrolet or the fact that Mikowski is filling up every mirror he's got.
And with the rain, it is the Imola conundrum here. Obviously, it's where we started out the championship at Imola. We had a soaking wet track, but no rain scheduled, and it was the question of which tyre suits it best, and that's actually what the first race came down to. But I imagine you are right. I don't think we will see a tyre change here. I don't think the rain is going to hit soon enough and at too much of an impactful time. I think the track will manage to just hold out on that dry tyre. So probably not going to be a pit stop. You're going to lose a lot of time here at Zandvoort as well. It's an incredibly long pit lane. You just can't justify losing that time, especially on all of these cars that are so close together still. So we've got Fischer. He's not managed to find a way through Rubliar yet. He is just trying to keep it close here, really. Mikowski looks like he's going to try and push his way through Verstappen, and that's the other thing you've got to consider here is, although Verstappen's very good at defending, he needs to hold these positions. If he keeps sliding around like that, he's going to drop back through the pack and make Fischer's job of catching up a lot easier on him. So Mikowski is doing the work for Fischer right now as he looks for a way through Verstappen. I'm surprised he didn't have it. I thought he was going to send it all the way through down before turn 12, but couldn't quite get the gap small enough on Verstappen there, and we see him now. He's just looking around the outside. He's being a lot more civil about it than Fischer was, I do have to say. And Schwenchik looks like he's on the inside here of Krozen. Is he going to maybe make it through going round the corner of turn 9? And no, it looks like he's actually going to now let Buxek through. So not the ideal situation for Schwenchik there. Is Buxek is still on this inside. They're coming down. They will be going through the turn 10. Basically a chicane here, but Schwenchik is managing to hold on to it. A whole range of places. I think Schwenchik has currently been 14th and 16th in this entire straight alone. So managing to hold on to it, and he's not going to be able to find a way through here. But it's just going to show there is no way you can pass on Zandvoort that makes it easy.
Yeah, there's not. And the second that you either, not even get side by side with somebody, but the second that you attempt to pass on somebody, Rins Krozen completely off the racetrack there, trying to get the maximum exit down off the last corner down the front straightaway. Almost has the opposite effect as you run into the grass, but luckily the Camaro saved him there, but it won't save him from a turn 1 move as he runs wide. Side by side is Svinček and Rins Krozen, as it's a very technical side of the track, and might I say, two of the biggest cars on the track as well, but they're holding it, going completely around the outside, trying to ride the ring around the outside, can't quite do it, and then all of a sudden Rins gets a little loose as well, and here comes Buček out on the outside. That will become the inside momentarily as they go through the very tight kink section. Can they do it? Yes, they are. Running off the track is the AMG, and everything resets to naught after 4 corners where they were completely all jumbled up. That's incredible stuff. And might I say, on top of that, some very excellent driving. That could have ended very ugly.
There were so many points there. I'm thinking, how are they still on the track? I mean, I thought for sure Krozen wasn't going to be able to hold it through the start-finish straight because he went really off there and picked up a lot of dirt. And to be perfectly honest, I think Schwenchik is very lucky that his entire right-hand side is not crumpled because he hit the wall there. He managed to slow himself down enough, but the rain is starting. You can see it on your screens now, and you can see it's having an impact. The problem for these 4 are there's no room to allow for that rain, and with the rain, what you really want here is just a little bit of room to go that little bit wider on corners. You want that extra room to just get that extra bit of grip, and when you're racing this close, there isn't the room to do so, and they are finding that out the hard way. As I think every single one of these drivers almost found themselves going off into a wall at a point in time there, but you're right, that was amazing racing from each of them. What could have gone horrifically wrong there didn't. As we see, Schwenchik is now making another move on Krozen. He's going for the outside, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to hold it. He's actually giving him a little bit of a shove there through the corner, which is going to make him fall back, and Buxek is now going to try and find his way through. There's just no room to race here, and they're all trying to make it happen.
Well, I tell you, there may not be any room, but they're finding room, and I always say that, a little bit of rubbing is fair as long as you're not moving people or, being a bit naughty with it. I think it's all fair here. And of course, if you are new to the series, as a reminder, no live stewarding on Thursdays. Everything is handled post race. So no live stewarding. And the only penalties that you'll see on the screen are ACC assigned ones, most likely due to track limits. And it would not be out of the realm of possibility for some of these drivers to pick up a drive-through in 30 minutes. By the way, we don't just do one 30-minute race here on Thursday. No. 2 30-minute races today. So this is only the prequel. Stay tuned for the encore. And by the way, I've been doing the maths, and you wouldn't really need to be a mathematician to know that as they run, Christoph Verstappen is your championship leader by a handful of points over Garrett Fisher right now. Fisher, again, stuck in 8th place, trying to get by Rubliar. Calendarino leads this race in the number 12 Porsche to the tune of 3 seconds. He's hemorrhaging time, is the 747 Chevrolet of Verstappen. Mikowski is very much looking for any sort of space to get that pass done for second. And if Verstappen knows if Mikowski gets around him, he's losing points twofold. He's losing points to Fisher, and he's also losing points to Mikowski, who's attempting to make up a boatload of points. So Verstappen defending as if his life depends on it, because it might as well, as far as the championship is concerned. Torzillo here in 5th place as well, marching up to this group. That sort of goldish chrome car, that is the 2nd place car of Verstappen. You got Mikowski and Lawrence. Oh, and it's a little bit of a shunt. How many times have we seen that today? A little bit of a shunt, but it doesn't come to anything. And even if we were live stewarded, I'm not sure they would care too much.
That was so close yet again to being a huge accident there. But Verstappen, he may be your championship leader. Calendarino is giving him a run for his money, and Mikowski is giving him a run for his money as well. We're going to watch a little bit of a race replay here of something that's happened. Is Harsford going to do a move? No, it looks like Harsford is defending on the 888. There may have been a little incident here that caused the replay to flag up, but it looks like he's managed to keep it ahead of Zarka there on the corners. But Verstappen, he is under so much pressure right now, and I mean, it's maybe grasping at straws here, but Fisher's and Aston Martin, known for how good they can be in the rain. Verstappen's in the Chevrolet, which means he might struggle a little bit more. As we are seeing, the rain is only going to get heavier from here. In 10 minutes, we're supposed to be having full-on rain. At the moment, it's only spitting, so that is why you see the clouds on your screen. Apparently, it is just because it's only spitting and it's not been constant rainfall. So the track is getting worse. The cars are losing their grip more and more by the second, but not one of these guys can afford to pit right now because, I mean, if you pit, you're basically thrown away, I'd say, about 10 positions, maybe even more. So it's all going to be a game of chicken at the moment, whether someone is going to pit or whether they're just going to see who can last out on track the longest. One spin could dictate the championship right now, and Verstappen is balling back on Calendarino anymore. So Calendarino, this will be his first victory if he can manage to hold it together. He has had a pole position in the past, but this will be the first time he brings it home.
Svinček and Martin Lawrence going at it here. We've seen this come to blows before, and it finally does in a big old accident as one of the Triple R cars actually gets through as well. Gets a twofer there, but Svinček, oh my goodness, gets sent there and all the way near the back of the field. A spot from the top 10 all the way to about 21st place, as it turns out. And that is the first real major incident. I was also going to point out that the track went from fast to green. So even though it's only spitting rain, it is affecting the track. We don't normally see that in ACC, by the way. Normally there's enough cars. There's 20 plus cars. That's more than enough to keep not only heat in the racetrack, but also keep rubber and a dry line. And maybe it's GT4s, I don't know, but normally you don't expect that. And the other point I was going to make, other than the track going green even before it started to properly rain, is this, that it was going to properly rain in about a minute or two's time, and right on schedule the windscreen wipers are on and the track is starting to get more and more damp. Pay attention to the top right of your screen, folks, as
Daly.
Jordan Daly trying to get around Rince Croson and is just about gonna not do it as Rince fights hard on the outside and just about gets there around the outside. Martin Lawrence trying to be the ultimate opportunist here and might actually get a shot. No, he doesn't, falls in the line, but a position for Jordan Daly up to 14th place. Now that was incredible.
Fisher, take note, because that is what you need to do here to get through. Daly with some absolutely phenomenal racing there, managed to just hold himself as close as possible to Croson. So an amazing overtake there. There was absolutely no fault in it. There was no touching and it was very close racing. So a brilliant move from Daly. He managed to hold it through all three corners there and managed to finally put himself ahead just before the hairpin that mattered. So he's now starting to pull away. He's got a little bit of catching up to do if he wants to catch up with Chamberlain, but we're now going to cut up towards Zidlow, who is going to try and repeat the situation in his BMW on Lawrence, but a little bit far back. He's got a nice long run up here. We know how strong the BMW is in these straights. Will he be able to make something of it before they get to the first corner? We will see. But Mikowski still has not found his way through Verstappen as well here, as we see towards those in the slipstream of Lawrence. It looks like he's going to try and make a move. No, he's going to back out of it, which is a smart choice. He does not have a lot of grip here, as we've said, but he's getting ever so close to Lawrence, and Lawrence is going to need to put a little bit more distance if he wants to hold towards it off here.
You know, for a track that is notable for being really hard to pass on, we've seen some quite fantastic passing and racing here, all on the outside mostly, going around the outside the long way around, and you got to go where they're not is job number one. Andrew Timmons in chat says, Tim Peck is the GOAT commentator. I can't disagree with that comment. As a little peek behind the curtain here, folks, Tim Peck was so jazzed about today's race. He said, we got a championship battle. We're at Zandvoort. This is going to be good. And in my opinion, it has lived up to that. There's drama in the championship race. There's drama in the top 10. There's drama in the weather. What more could you ask for? Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Don't miss a single race that we do, especially if Tim Peck's on commentary, because, well, we go hard on Thursdays around here, Tim.
And what a championship it's been so far. I cannot take all of the credit, obviously, having such a good championship with Verstappen and Fisher and even Abeladze just doing all of these amazing things to commentate on it. It certainly makes it easier, as Fisher's actually gone a little bit too deep here. It looks like Wojcik is going to try and find his way through. Fisher's going to do an amazing job on this event so far, as Wojcik can't quite find a position, but poor Fisher, he's climbed a couple of places so far. He's not managed to lose Wojcik, who looks like he wants that place back. So Fisher has got a lot on his plate right now. He's fallen back on Rubliar, so that opportunity is no longer there. That could have been trouble, but it
contact here is going to happen towards Zillow and Martin Lawrence. Lawrence is not giving any space here at all. Says, hey, I'm there. You have to respect that I'm there. And once again, contact that usually we find spins the car. Able to gather it back up is Martin Lawrence. And Andy Boardman trying to be the ultimate opportunist. A winner from a week ago trying to go down the inside. Couldn't quite do it. And everybody ends up back line astern. But a scary moment there as Torzillo Holmo spins Martin Lawrence, but doesn't.
And he has given the position back. It looked like he had actually made it through, but he did just drop that little bit back to let Lawrence back through, which is the very smart thing to do here. And it just shows good relationship, as he's actually losing a little bit of grip coming out of that corner. So the rain's getting worse. The track is getting worse. It's green right now, but I imagine it won't be too long before it drops to, I think, Greasy is the next stage in ACC. So these cars have a lot to worry about coming into the final 10 minutes of the race. Yep. Oh, it's Greasy. It has actually just fallen to Greasy. So I was right. That is the next stage. And once it starts getting greasy, that is when you start to panic. We have 9 minutes left of this race now. And as we have said, there is not a chance to pit here unless you want to give up all of those positions. So these cars, I imagine, will be starting to take it a little bit easier as they just hope to stay on the track. But who won't be taking it easy is Fisher, who will still be wanting to climb through those spaces. Whilst just trying to hold off Wojcik, he will be trying to fight through. So you've got some people here very close together in bad conditions, there are moves here that probably shouldn't be made, but will be, as we actually see, is that Todzilla looking for yet another move on Lawrence. A lot cleaner this time. There is not going to be a clip, but there is a lot at stake here, and these cars are going to have to give it everything their all if they want to keep it together.
Calendarino, 4 seconds to the good out in front. It's all going to plan for the driver of the number 12 Porsche. It is not necessarily all going to plan for the driver of the 747, as they have been hounded. They've not had, this is actually the biggest lead that they've had, Verstappen on Mikowski, 1.1 seconds. And that looks like a weird sector time to me, because they were nose to tail in the previous sector. So I wonder if maybe Mikowski made a move and it didn't come off. But we stay with the battle for 4th place. This has been hotly contested between Lawrence and Torzillo, but you have to say it has been respectful. A little bit of a contact earlier between the driver of the 373 and the 171, but all's fair in love in war, and certainly they are playing very nice. The last thing you want to do as a driver, I think we can all agree, is wreck somebody. You want to race somebody. Nobody wants to go out there and wreck somebody unless you play Forza Motorsport, but that we're not playing that. This is ACC. It's a real simulator. So nobody out here trying to wreck each other. They're trying to race each other respectfully, and sometimes, even though you try your hardest, there will be contact. It's what you do after you make contact that's important. Towards Zillow, in this case, as most other drivers in this field have done, they've backed off, said, my bad, I'll get you on the next lap. And speaking of gaining all the way down to the inside, just not quite there for Torzillo, and Martin Lawrence will survive for another couple of turns. I think it's clear that BMW has a little bit more pace in the AMG, but on a track like this and conditions like this, it may not matter.
Lawrence has done such a good job of defending here, but Boardman, begging to not be forgotten. He's done a couple of sends on the past couple of laps. I was very surprised last lap. He did a huge send towards Todzillo, and I thought they were going to collide just on the rear of the BMW there, but managed to keep it together. Boardman has done a great job keeping up with them, and he is just waiting for that opportunity. Every single time Todzillo has made a move on Lawrence, Boardman has made a move on Todzillo. So ready to strike at any point in time. And I was going to say, a lot of sportsmanship coming out towards Zidlow there, as you know, he does give the position back. There's a lot of push to it, especially when Boardman is ready to strike. So when he lets off, Boardman is going to be pushing because he doesn't have to let off. He's just going to look for that move. We're watching now Billy Octane in the Maserati. We're going back to Zidlow, who looks like he's going to try and make another move again. He is looking for Lawrence. Lawrence plants himself in the middle of the track. Torzillo can't get through. Oh, it is getting close here, and sooner or later Torzillo is going to just try and push his way through. We are coming yet again up to the start-finish straight here. The biggest opportunity for that BMW to find his way through, having a much better straight line speed on the Mercedes does the BMW. So we see him now. He's got a great exit. He's going to come up yet again. He's in the slipstream. Probably not going to be able to find it alongside before the turn one. So he's going to consider maybe the dive, and it looks like he's going to sit back here and just try and find his way through here, but he's got a much better exit out of the corner here. Lawrence is going to apply himself in the middle of the track, not give any room for the BMW to get through. So for Lawrence, he's got a lot on his plate right now. 5 minutes left of the race to just hold it together from Torzillo, and I think he might be able to do it. He's done such a good job so far. He's been doing this for the past 20 minutes. He's looking really good on the defense right now.
Torzillo has a couple of more opportunities to get the pass done, and sometimes they come in the moment that you don't expect them. Something I know about Martin Lawrence, pressure's not going to get to Martin Lawrence. I've called races with him in it for about 2 years at this point, and Martin Lawrence has two modes: attack and defend, and definitely in defensive mode, as Boardman is going to try to go around the outside. I don't think that's going to work, but it is a valiant effort out of the 69 Porsche. Look, if you have a run, you have to take it, because you just don't know. What if the car on the inside loses grip? What if they make a mistake? Then all of a sudden you're by. You have to take all the runs that you get. By the way, Mikowski is closing back down on Verstappen in the closing moments, which further makes me believe that there was something that happened to Mikowski that made him drop that second, and maybe Mikowski will have one more push to try and get the second step on the podium. Boardman's going up the inside. This is
He's
exactly
through.
what I was talking about. You have to take all of your runs because you never know what could happen. A little bit of a slip from Torzillo,
The
and all
BMW
of a
speed,
sudden
no!
you have a and all of a sudden you have a run. But the biggest ace in the hole you could possibly have is the straight line speed of a car such as the BMW, and even defending around the outside, it is no contest. The BMW beating the Porsche. Sometimes life isn't fair.
Boardman had everything there. He had the inside line. He had a much better exit because the BMW of Torzillo had picked up so much dirt. But it just goes to show the car has so much acceleration speed that it is unmatchable. As Torzillo powers all the way back through and still had the advantage going into that first corner. I mean, he was basically in front of Boardman again already. It is just such a show of what that car can do, and what Boardman is having to deal with here is try and fight through. I mean, I thought that move was done, and he just didn't have the speed to pull it through, and it's such a shame because it was a brilliant move at that. He had found the inside, and he had everything going for him, but it means that Lawrence can breathe a little bit as a second has formed between them now. We see actually Nathan McConnell here is looking for a move on the on Billy Octane that's in the Maserati, so I imagine he is really struggling here. I was going to say something about it earlier. Maserati, no traction control and no ABS, and it's raining. It's a greasy track. This poor guy, Billy Octane, he's really having to do a lot here just to keep himself from spinning out, and he's done such a good job of it so far, and actually he's been the one looking for moves, as we see now. A little bit of going out wide was McConnell. Manages to hold of Buczek there, but it looks like any point in time he's going to strike on this Maserati as we come down now towards the chicane. Is he going to be able to make a move? No, it does not look like it, as Octane manages to plant himself in the middle of the track, but we have that final start-finish straight coming. We have that final corner coming. If there's anywhere to make a move that it is likely you might make it here, it is on that start-finish straight. So let's see now whether Buczek or McConnell here can make that move happen. Actually, it looks like, is that McConnell has dropped back, or is that me seeing things? McConnell has dropped back. Buczek has found his way through, and he is coming now onto the start finish straight. We will see whether he can make the move now on the Maserati. It doesn't look like he's going to be quite alongside enough, but you got to hand it to Octane. Oh no, McConnell is going to make a way through. He's found the inside line. It looks like he's actually going to try and make the move here. Octane is managing to hold the outside line well. They need to be careful. This Maserati has no grip through here, and it looks like McConnell is going to try and fight his way through. He's on the inside line. They're getting so close to each other, but he just can't find the way through. He's going to be pushed to the outside of this hairpin, and Octane can breathe a sigh of relief for another day. What a drive from the Maserati to hold on to 17th there.
I'm trying to figure out if we're going to get an extra lap in here, folks. It's going to be close. The leader's coming through the chicane, and it's going to be close. 20 seconds left, and the final two turns for your leader. If he gets there, it's going to be close, as he's got 10 seconds to make back the line. I think he might just make it. He might slow down. He could slow down and stop an additional lap if he feels like it. Actually, it won't matter. The race is going to be over. Your winner, SPQ Racing, the number 12 Porsche, Fabio Calendarino, as the fans of that driver and team are going to be absolutely ecstatic for a win. The very first win for Calendarino on the season. An excellent job. Verstappen is going to hold on to second place here and actually gap Mikowski a little bit. Mikowski will end up finishing third. Lawrence Torzillo, your top five. Boardman, Rubliar, Fisher, Wajna, and Harsvord, your top 10. Sarka, Arasser, Chamberlain, Daly, Rinskrosen, Jake the Bosmeister, Boswell, who had a great run of it. Actually made up about 4 or 5 places in that race. And you have this battle right behind him, Nathan McConnell and Uri Svinček for the 17th place position and 18th, respectively. Buczek and Varga, the top 20. And these drivers, Pimlott, Octane, Mulholland, and Bryant, who came up at the end of the field. Something happened to the 42 of Bryant, by the way. They were not dead last, and all of a sudden they were somewhere around halfway into that race. And and now they crash post race, which is oh wait, no,
The replay.
was
That's the replay.
was that was during the race.
Yeah, I was gonna say Octane dropped back suddenly. He was 17th and now he's 22nd, which means he spun out at some point there. I believe he was actually spun out, I think, by McConnell, I think that car was. So a little bit of contact, caused a bit of a spin out on the last lap of all places as well. And that's definitely not going to be what Octane would have wanted there. He'd done so good at just holding that Maserati on track. But I mean, where did that race go? It felt like we had so long left. And then suddenly the end just jumped up on us. The track, I don't know quite how I say it. Are we doing race 2 on the exact same day? Is it going to be a rainy race for this one? Because that track was not looking good. It was greasy, and I have just been informed that it will continue to rain and the track will be in a wet condition by the time we get around to race 2 here. So we'll have, I won't say a dry race. I wouldn't call it a particularly dry race. I'd say it was more of a hybrid mix between rain and dry. So a lot was in there for a lot of the cars. No chance to pit for wet, so they did have to show what they can do on the dry tyres in the rain. But race 2 will be a full wet race as it stands, because it is going to be the exact same day as race 1, just a continuation really. So I mean, you got to hand it to them. There was some, for a track with not a lot of positions to overtake and not a lot of ways to make a move there was some really good and tight fighting despite the wet weather. So I imagine going into race 2, we're going to see probably quite a lot of spin outs and a lot of lost grip around this track here, as Fisher places 8th. He doesn't manage to close that gap enough on Verstappen, and Verstappen will be your championship leader by, I'd say, probably the best part of 10 or 20 points here. So Verstappen's going to be happy with how that one went, and he is going to be starting yet again from second place, just to remind everybody that the results from qualifying is what determines the grid for both races. Race 1 does not impact race 2 in any way, so you can look at that either with a bit of refreshment or a pinch of salt, depending on how you see it. The drivers that started up high are going to get another chance to just basically hold their position and continue up high, and the drivers a little further back now do have a chance to maybe make a bit more of something else in race 2 here. So a bit of sweetness for some and sour for other. We will see how race 2 pans out compared to race 1 here at Zandvoort.
Chris Rubliar is in chat in between the races and says, I got mugged at the start. Yes, indeed, you did in your Audi. That did, in fact, happen, Chris Rubliar. And hopefully a better start to race 2. Folks, we thank you for joining us on your Thursday evening, wherever you are in the world. We hope that you are having a great evening. And we invite you to like, subscribe, hit the bell for more GT Racing content. We'll be back with you for the continuation of the Friday Endurance Championship tomorrow night. And we would love to see you there. I'd love to see you there. So if you're not subscribed, please do so. And a big thank you again to all of our partners: Race Department, AK Informatica, Driver 61, Fanatec, and Sim Racing GP. You can get 25% off your driver coaching at driver61.com by using our discount code RCI Coaching D61. Driver coaching can make you a better driver. A big thank you, of course, to AK Informatica for hosting the servers. And you can use our Fanatec affiliate link as well. It doesn't cost you a single penny, and it helps us with things like server cost and the like. We would appreciate your support and support those that support RCI. And you were talking, by the way, Tim, about the championship points. I have been doing the maths, and it's 22 points. Your championship leader, Verstappen, is 22 points in front of Garrett Fisher now. And Mikowski has just about halved his championship deficit that he had coming into today. It is all to play for here in race 2.
22 points ahead from being 2 points behind is certainly an achievement for Verstappen there. He's going to be more than happy with the results of race 1. And I mean, if he can hold it together, he's probably going to be happy with the results of race 2. We have said that this track is not the place to overtake many a time. So Fisher is really just trying to get anything he can here. Obviously, qualifying did not go the way he wanted, with Verstappen putting it in second place, and he's going to start, I believe, all the way down in 10th. So Fisher does need to try and just make something out of not nothing, but not an ideal situation here. He just needs to keep that points gap as tight as possible so that he can make that striking move on in Spain. I'd say in terms of the championship fight for first place here, Fisher probably is not going to get a great opportunity to do it until Spain, because I mean it's possible to gain the points back here, but when you're starting 8 places behind your main rival, it's not where you want to be, especially not on a track we can't overtake. So he is relying on something happening to Verstappen here as we come back to the track with some fireworks being put out for the result of race 1. Those will be for Calendarino, who will bring home his first race win of the season. He is going to be ecstatic with that result. He did have a couple of chances earlier on the season. We saw him in pole position a couple of times, and now he is going to be able to bring home that race win finally. So, race 2 predictions, Jesse. What do you see happening here in the wet weather?
Well, first of all, I just want to talk about Fabio Calendarino for just a moment. That folks, that wasn't only his first win, that was his first podium. He was the only driver inside the top 7 in the championship points that did not have a podium. In fact, there's only one other driver that only had one inside the top 7. So for Fabio Calendarino, they've done a lot of great racing and great driving that has gotten them into a place in this championship up near the top of the board without a podium finish. So not only the first win, but the first podium as well. So well done to the number 12. Calendarino definitely deserved that. And we're near the end of the season, and to get your first win, it doesn't matter when it comes. You'd rather it come early, but it doesn't matter. It's always special, and it's always a relief to get that, and certainly a win for him. By the way, folks, in case you're wondering what's going on, the race admin, I suppose, has put an extra 0, I'm being told, in the server configuration, which means that we have a slightly longer than usual layover between the end of race 1 and the start of race 2. Do not fret, race 2 is coming. We got a couple extra seconds here to vamp a little bit. So we're just going to talk. We're going to take, first of all, Christian Stricker's taking us on a tour of what is his home circuit as well. He took us to space earlier, Tim.
He did take us to space earlier, and even though he's asking if he should do it again, I definitely don't think he should, because you made the point of the last time someone went to space,
listen,
entire server crashed.
I don't know if the Netherlands has a space agency, but I think we can create one right here.
I mean, we can certainly try. I think this is as high as I feel comfortable going. I certainly do not want the broadcast. He's going to do it anyway.
Further. We can go further, Christian.
No.
You keep going. You can keep going, Christian. That's not far enough. Okay. And sorry to break your immersion at home, but
oh no.
That's
Are we on the moon?
Here we go. No, but we're definitely back on Earth. We actually had a conversation pre-race of is the surrounding area just a Google overlay that has had the resolution, sort of cut on it, and obviously the way the way that it works is, of course, you ACC or Kunos has made their own sort of map here. But if you go back to the part where it's zoomed out, you can actually see the shoreline, because Zandvoort is next to the beach. So it makes sense. And then you've got these buildings that sometimes mysteriously lose a side or two of them, which is, I'm pretty sure that has something to do with resource management and all that. But we talk a lot here at RCI about how good the rendering and how well put together a lot of the Kuno stuff is. Like, for instance, the tunnel under the hill. You really never see stuff like that, and there's the buildings in the distance. You don't really see those either, but some of them have signage and like the leasing number that you would call if you were looking to lease an apartment and all that. So very good job that they do. And I just now realized that Big 10 is actually a trailer right there in the middle. All those are, in fact, yeah.
Yes, it's definitely rendered an interesting way. Luckily now the mistake of adding that extra zero has been fixed, so we are now waiting for the session to start. We've got just 2 more minutes for the race start, but I do have to admit it is an absolute
Look at
relief that
this.
we only
Why did
leave
they
a
do
minute.
this? Tim, why did they do this? Why did they put the roundabout and all the signage? Because you can't see that unless you're Christian and you're flying around. But they actually put the signs up. It's brilliant. Kunos does an excellent job. And I mean, what would you rather have? A company that makes games with love or a company that belches out games every year and charges full price for them? We won't go there.
I mean, you got to give them immersion points. Personally,
Oh,
I would
10 out of
love
10.
to be able to just, drive off the track one day. Let's say you're having a bad race, you're stuck in dead last, you've had a bit of a spin. Would you not love to just take that little detour on the final corner, off into the paddock, have a little bit of an exploration? I don't see why they can't do it. I mean, they've modelled it all. You could have a whale of a time if you're down in last. Think about it. You don't even have to complete the lap. You can just go for a little exploration. And I mean, Christian has shown that there is a lot to explore here. But what I do always find funny is you can see the cutoff of where they have modelled and where, as you call it, they have maybe stolen something from Google Maps here.
No,
But
no, no. I'm sure they have all rights necessary to use that overlay. I find
don't
it
sue us.
interesting. I find it interesting that this is all stuff that Kunos has done, and then they just put this map over top of what appears to be a scaled down Google image for reference. But it's all there. If you have Flight Simulator, you can fly here, and you'll find that what Kunos has done is very much representative of what it's like at Zandvoort. It's actually really brilliant job that they have done, and I am a bit suspicious that it's the same 5 race fans that are out here over
They're
and over
die-hard
again.
race fans. They like to come to every event multiple times at the same time. Let's put it this way. If you've managed to clone yourself like these guys clearly have, you can get multiple angles on the track. I mean, this guy here, I've seen him in a couple of spots on different corners. He's
Yeah.
technically got the best view. He gets all the action. So, I mean, they're rendered a bit weird. They're definitely interesting Christian right now as they're actually following him in the line of eyesight. You can't take their eyes off the camera right now, but maybe the weaker point, I think. I mean, you can't really render that a bit better if you've only got a set few people, but potentially in the future, something I was talking about with a friend the other day actually is what happens if you just ask fans for their photos, maybe if they want to share a picture of themselves, have yourself in the game. We could have all sorts of people here on the track, and maybe even you at home could be here on the track one day. Hopefully that's something they implement in the future, but we are now starting up race 2. You do not have to listen to us make up a load of waffle any longer. As we
We
begin the outlap for race 2 on our greasy track here today at Zandvoort.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the RCI why did they render that segment of today's broadcast, where we take a look at Kuno's handiwork and find out that they love what they do more than most other people, because the you can Kunos always makes things with love and passion, and it shows because of the care that they take in making certain elements of racetracks that are of the highest quality. Well, beyond that, we are ready for race 2. Again, qualifying set the field order. So Calandrino, after not having a podium all season, some of that was not his fault, mind you. He could end up here with 2 podiums and 2 wins. It looked all too easy for the driver of the number 12. Can Verstappen keep it up as well? They could walk out of here with a 40-plus point gap if they can replicate what they did in race 1. Did Mikowski learn anything that could potentially get him in front of Verstappen? Maybe chase down Calandrino. We don't know. Fisher, starting back in 10th place, needs to gain positions. Got up to 8th really quickly in race 1, but then that's about as far as they got. So a lot of questions here, and of course the rain already here. The track already greasy. I don't think it's raining hard enough, Tim, that it will go damp with this many cars on track. I think this is what we got, but still, fairly treacherous racetrack they're going to have to navigate tonight.
I mean, what is the cool here in terms of tyres? I think looking at the tyres, I believe those are the wets that we're seeing. I can't quite remember what the tell is. I know Josh did tell me at Imola how to tell the tyres apart, but I'd say those are the wets. Those have got to be the wets, right? They've not got markings on them. Oh no, those are the dries.
They do. Yeah, they do. Nobody in their right mind would be out here on wets at this point with a greasy racetrack. The difference is if it has a yellow Pirelli sticker on the side or a yellow smear when they're moving, that is a dry tire. If there is no lettering on the sidewall, then of course that is a wet tire. Nobody in their right mind, outside of Billy Octane, would be out here on wets right now.
I mean, it's going to get wetter, but I don't know what the call is here. Rubliar has fallen back a little bit and is going to start a little bit back as we come now on to start-finish straight, and the cars are going. Verstappen yet again has a much better start on Calendarino and is going to be a lot further ahead for the first corner. Let's see if he can hold it, and he has. Verstappen's going to be in the lead as Mikowski looks like that's not Mikowski, that is Lawrence. He's sending around the outside and he's actually going to get nudged off the track a little bit there. And we see what's happening in the pack. Fisher doesn't look like he's made any progress on the way. He's blocked behind a wall of cars there, but I mean, what a start for Verstappen and what a start for Lawrence. He should be in second here. We're actually going to get a couple of more knocks onto the hairpin. Just trying to find the space to do it, really. With a rainy track and dry tyres, this is not the situation you want. You're so packed up at the beginning here, but we are going to see now how the grid is impacted as we come through the first sector. As Fisher is pushing his way here. I don't even know who that is. I believe that's Buxek. Maybe he's just pushed his way through, but oh, that is a very tight start, and we can now see where everyone is shaping up, as it looks like the car that Fisher overtook is maybe trying to get his way back through.
Verstappen's in the lead!
Verstappen is in the lead. He did that by the first corner, but what a clean move that was, and what a nail-biting start. There was so much that could have gone wrong there, and luckily it didn't, but I think the best thing to take away from here is that Lawrence didn't find his way through. Mikowski has somehow managed to hold on to P3 here. I mean, Lawrence shot himself through that outside. That was an insane move. I thought for sure he was going to be able to hold it there, but Fisher has managed to find the move on Buxek. It was Buxek he managed to fight through there, and Buxek couldn't find that place back, but oh, what a start. I mean, there's so much that could have gone wrong, and it didn't seem to happen, although Tom Bryan and Jake Boswell have fallen back from the pack, so maybe a little accident there, but just taking our eyes back away from that into the front of the pack, Verstappen, your championship leader, is on the front of the grid. He is first place right now as we come through the first corner again. And as we know, there's not a lot of overtaking opportunities here, although proving me wrong, maybe Buxek as he comes around the outside of Fisher. It looks like he's gonna maybe
Rubliar's off!
Rubliar's off!
Rubliar completely off of the track. I didn't see Verstappen take the lead because I was too busy looking at Rubliar, of all people, in the middle of the the melee back in the field. I didn't even see Verstappen take the lead from Calendarino. I'm sure it was brilliant. I didn't see it, however. Mikowski is holding on to third. Martin Lawrence just in front of towards Zillow, and Andy Boardman still sixth. But this is where all the energy was coming from. Fisher, who has somehow gotten up to 8th place. Rubliar down to 10th place, will be nothing but frustrated. Pusek in 9th, as Mulholland, by the way, who was dead last after one lap in race 1, has held on. Of course, we didn't talk about Mulholland at all in race 1, but they were the big casualty as they went from the middle of the pack all the way to the back. Turns out in this race, it's going to be Tom Bryant and Jake the Bosmeister Boswell that got the short end of the stick in this race. And look at this, diving down the inside is Andy Boardman, clipping the curb, trying to go around the outside of towards Zidlow, and he might be able to just hang there.
He's still there.
Can the BMW get the power? No, he won't. I think he's just going to let him go.
I mean, we know what this BMW can do on the straight here, and it looks like he might have tried to prioritize the exit, although it doesn't look like the best situation. Boardman has put himself in front of towards Zidlow. We are watching his front, probably not the angle that Christian was going for, as we're now going to cut back to towards Zidlow as he looks for the slipstream. It looks like he's maybe going to try and go for a move around the outside here. There's a little bit of contact there as towards Zidlow is going to push it around the outside of turn 1. It looks like he's not going to make the move, and he has fallen back, but Boardman found the move he was trying to do since race 1. He is through the BMW, and now he is trying to gain on Lawrence. But Bournemouth on the Porsche has shown us that even though it is raining, it is not impossible to overtake here at Zandvoort. There is the opportunity to do it, and he did manage to hold on to it in the end, as he did push towards it to the outside of turn 1. So, wow, what a fight we've had there as we now cut up to see what is happening at the front of the pack. Calendarino wants his first place back off Verstappen.
Well, Calendarino would very much like that position back. Calendarino, 7th place in the championship coming into today. Probably going to end up about 6th or 5th at the end of all the racing today. But the point is, Calendarino doesn't care about the championship. He cares about wins and putting extra numbers on his stat sheet. So he will care very little about Verstappen's championship. And Verstappen has to recognize that and kind of, you want to go for the win, but you also have to sort of read the room here. And we know that Chevrolet lost 4 to 5 seconds over the course of the 30-minute race, one race ago, to Calendarino. And Mikowski as well, who was very strong for the first 20 minutes, but did in fact fall off in the final 10. It's all about what you can do now, though. And just getting confirmation from our chat that the 107 of Uri Svinček and Jake the Bosmeister Boswell's car had a big coming together, which does explain why they're both at the back of the field. Meanwhile, we stay up near the front. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Verstappen, Calendarino, Mikowski, and Lawrence, who have all managed. Look at Lawrence, by the way, up here in the battle for the lead now.
He's definitely making an impact. He's doing a lot better than he was in race 1, and he's looking for a way through Mikowski. He wants that podium. I'm not sure if he's had one yet. I think maybe he has, and I don't know. We've not seen a lot of Lawrence, to be perfectly honest, but he has certainly made an impact here today at Zandvoort with 2 brilliant races so far. Verstappen, as we can see, cannot gain any distance on Calendarino. Calendarino is ready to get that first place back, and Mikowski looks like he's ready to maybe take it for himself. They are all fighting right now. This is a fight for first place, and like you say, Verstappen, he's fighting for a championship, but this might not be the fight he wants to take, especially if it is going to be putting his car at risk, although every point will be necessary to stay ahead of Fischer going into Spain here. So although he is going to want to bring home this first place, it might not mean as much to him as the championship does. So he needs to weigh up here. Is it worth the risk of trying to hold off these 3 cars in the rain here, which are very clearly desperate to make it through, as we see them now coming into the final set of corners once more. Mikowski looks like he is ready to come through Calendarino at any point in time, but Calendarino is now actually looking like he's ready to come through for Verstappen as we go onto the start-finish straight, where we see most of these overtakes happen at some point in that first set of corners from that start-finish straight. So we will see here whether the Porsche number 12 can make it through Verstappen, and it looks like he's not going to be able to put himself alongside going to the first corner as Verstappen dives down to defend the inside line. He's going to push Calendarino out, but Calendarino looks like he's going to lunge around the outside. He's not quite going to make it, but Mikowski now is in the fight. He's got a better exit. He's looking to find the inside. He can't quite find it either, as Calendarino manages to put himself back in the middle of the track. It is everything to race for here in race 2, and where before we were seeing the fight for 5th position, this time around it is the fight for first place.
I tell you what, if Verstappen holds this lineup anymore, they get side by side like that a few more times. Boardman towards Zidlo, Wajna, and Fischer are all going to catch up. Could you imagine an 8-way fight for the lead? Wide there was Calendarino. Can Mikowski take advantage? No, they cannot, as they all come out single file. By the way, Jake the Bosmeister Boswell has retired from the race, and get this, Tim, he is retired because his windscreen wipers wouldn't turn on and he couldn't see through the rain on the windscreen. So that little issue has caused the car to retire. A weather-related retirement, but without a crash. I've heard of that happening. I've never experienced that myself, but I have heard of that happening a couple of times. There's some workarounds for it, but alas, a retirement for Bosmeister.
Yeah, he was saying as well that the rain was raining a lot heavier on his screen than maybe it appeared for some other people as well. So that's definitely not what we want, especially if you can't get your wipers to turn on. So There may be a fix for it, but I'm not sure if there's a fix for it on the go, which is really what you need in one of these races. And we see now Calendarino is ready to strike on Verstappen. He has got the exit he needs, but Verstappen actually may be pulling away slightly here. Whoa, Calendarino is getting ever so close, and it looks like he is ready to make that move. He is looking for the inside line. Verstappen is not giving it to him, but they all need to stay out of trouble here if they want the result they want. But it's like you say, if Verstappen continues to back up this pack, it is only going to get bigger here, as although Boardman is a second behind, it is only a second, and we know that he does have a lot of pace here. So, I mean, we could be seeing a backup all the way to 7th place if the Verstappen does continue to back up these cars, but maybe Calendarino will find his way through before then. He is only 0.2 of a second off Verstappen here, as yet again, he's looking for a move going around the 6th and 7th corner here. I'm getting excited. This is a very exciting battle for first place, and again, it is not between the leaders of the championship. Fisher is still down in 8th, and it looks like, again, he's fallen behind Watson.
Oh, it's wide!
And Calendarino has found his way through Verstappen. Verstappen has gone completely wide, and now he's spinning out Calendarino, but Calendarino does manage to hold on track, and now Mikowski's going through. Lawrence looks like he's just come through, but Calendarino's got on track, and Verstappen, Lawrence off the track. There is no room to be doing this sort of racing here.
He's going to wreck it. Verstappen is going to lose a ton of positions. The car streaking through. Contact between him and Calendarino after Verstappen ran wide. And all of a sudden, Calendarino ran wide. Mikowski, the leader of the race, hemorrhaging positions back down to just about 6th place. Garrett Fisher and Verstappen in the same shot, 22-point lead. It is still in favor of Verstappen, but a very dangerous moment. We can only say it so many times. You play with fire, sometimes you get burned. Verstappen took a calculated risk, and well, he got burned right there.
And we were saying that whilst this race isn't important for Calendarino, he just wants a race win. It looks like Verstappen might actually lose another position here as Wojcicki makes a bit of a lunge into turn 1. Can't quite make it stick. Verstappen does manage to stay ahead, but as I was saying, although Calendarino doesn't care so much about the championship, you know who does? Mikowski, who even though he was a little bit behind at the start of this race, certainly is not going to be if he manages to bring home first place, and Verstappen and Fischer finish all the way down there in 6th and 8th. So Mikowski, although he's about 40 or so behind in the championship, he is not going to be after race 2 here. He's going to be catching up on those leaders massively. Do we see Mikowski now fighting for the championship going into the final round of the season next week?
Yes, the answer is yes. I said in the interim between race 1 and 2 that Mikowski made up points despite the fact they did not beat the Chevrolet of Verstappen. It did not matter. They were still going to gain points, and they did. Now, with the lead of the race, with Verstappen in 6th place, this could be mega. Folks, you could be looking at a 3-way fight in the final weekend of the championship in Spain. How incredible. This championship has been all over the place. When drivers have had opportunities to take the championship by the horns, they haven't. They've either faltered, they've had incidents, they've no-showed. Nobody has been the clear leader, and it shows as everybody has been in the mix. For the Abeladze, who has won 3 times in this season, basically eliminated themselves from competition by not showing up here today, and all of a sudden 3 contenders remained, and we are seeing what they are made of. Mikowski, very patient in 3rd place, saw the contact between the 2 leaders, was able to squeak through there, and Calendarino, by the way, he may have been on the grass, but he's still right behind Mikowski. And if Calendarino did get back by Mikowski for the lead, that would be doing Verstappen a favor. But again, Fischer, I don't think they would have seen what happened, but it certainly, Fischer will like his chances now that he is just a bit closer to Verstappen. So Verstappen 6th, Fischer in 8th, Mikowski 3rd in the championship, is leading this race. They could all be separated by as few as about 20 points at the end of this race. Verstappen still would gain on Fischer, but Mikowski would gain on all of them. So yeah, I think it'd be about 30 to 20 points between all three of them. So that would be very incredible. What is going through Verstappen's mind right now?
I imagine a lot of screaming. He had first place, and I mean, yes, they were all gaining on him, and he might have had to have given up a couple of positions just to remain in that safer spot, but he'd have still been around fourth place. And I mean, if you're at home, you're probably thinking 30-point gap, that's a little bit wide. I don't think Mikowski can make that up. I mean, Mikowski going into this race was 58 points behind Verstappen, who was only in second in the championship. So, I mean, if anyone can make up those points, it's Mikowski, who for the past couple of weeks has been doing so well. I mean, he had a win last week at Snetterton. It looks like he may be bringing home another win here today at Zandvoort. Mikowski, he may be a little bit down on the rest of the pack, but he's got the potential to gain those points very, very quickly. I know it's 20, 30 points, but that can go, as we have seen many a time throughout the championship, that can go in the space of just one race. So do not count Mikowski out yet. We are now going to have a little look at the race at hand now, where Crozen is trying to make a move around the edge of Jordan Daly, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to find his way through. He did get a little bit of a nudge from behind there by Varga, but he has managed to hold it together. So a little bit of trouble is happening at the back of the pack now, but you can see, look at that top 9 from Buczek all the way up to Mikowski. There is not a lot splitting them up right now, and you can see on the mini-map there is a very close pack in that top 9. Rubliar has, of course, fallen 8 seconds behind, but it's everything to fight for, and at any point in time, as we have seen, one little mistake can cause a chain reaction. As we see, I believe that's Jordan Daly has just knocked someone off the track there. I think not Crozen, but Mulholland. But no, Varga apparently. Varga's... Oh, Mulholland. We don't know who it is, but they've gone for a little wander off the track there. So, Mulholland, yeah, it is him. We can see him now. He's lost that 14th position. He's going to start dropping through the pack. Has just been shunted off there by John Daly. I'm sure not on purpose at all. But as I was going to say, one little accident can massively change the outcome of this race. So although Fischer's 8th, although Stefan is 6th, they are all so close together, and one tiny accident to change everything. So it is all still to play for here in the last 14 minutes so far of this race.
Well, let's reset what has happened in this race. Verstappen took the lead early from Calendarino, and then they all got together as Verstappen ran wide. As you see, a position change there. Harsford will hold. Well, actually, no, a position did not change there, but it very nearly did down the front straightaway. Oh, there's going to be contact right there between Harsford and Rubliar, and for the second race in a row, oh my goodness, Chris Rubliar is going to be furious. Harsford is waiting, but Rubliar has to wait. Rubliar has to wait because you can't pull out into traffic. So Chris Rubliar does the honorable thing. Harsford's trying to do the honorable thing. Didn't mean to do that. But my goodness, that is going to rankle. That is not going to stand, as Chris Rubliar is, rightly so, going to be very hot under that helmet right now, as Joseph Varga continues to be under pressure from Billy Octane. But as I was saying, Verstappen took the lead into turn 1. Calendarino took the lead back several laps later, and on a subsequent corner, contact between Calendarino and Verstappen put Mikowski out front and shuffled Verstappen all the way back to 6th place. The championship leader, we talked about it, and we talked about it. Calculated risk if you're leading the championship. He must have known he was doing. And, well, sometimes you play with fire, you get burned, and that's exactly what happened. Oh, a little sideways there. Billy Octane's probably going to go ahead and give up this position to, I believe that's Pimlott, and is. And completely off the track here is going to be the Maserati. And that's not where you want to be in a car with no TC.
Tom Bryant was very hot on the brakes there, as Octane, of course, does pull back out in front of him and going off yet again. It looks like he's starting to lose a lot of grip, and we know, as you just said, he does not have the traction control. So he's going to be really struggling in these greasy conditions on the dry tyres as well. But we mentioned last race, Torzidlo obviously had to give back the position to, I believe it was Lawrence. He did the respectful sportsmanship about it. And as you said, Harsford tried to do it there, but when you're 10th place, it is very hard to give a position back to someone who's dropped all the way down to 23rd. So Harsford did have to opt out of giving the position back in the end, and he has in the meantime drops down to 12th for it. So although sometimes you might try and do the honourable thing, it can't always happen, and sadly that does mean that Harsford will not be able to give the position back and therefore might actually rack up a penalty for that little accident there. So not an ideal situation there for Rublia, not an ideal situation there for Harsford, but these things happen, and we have seen a lot of misfortune in a lot of these races so far. But Octane, he gave up the position to him a lot. He came back on the track in front of Tom Bryan, who had to slam his foot on the brakes, and well done for that reaction time in doing so, because that almost was very catastrophic. But starting to struggle a lot in the Maserati now. The weather is clearing up, but it's not going to clear up very quickly. We see it's less rain in about 30 minutes time from now, so not in this race it's going to get less rainy. But a greasy track, that Maserati is going to be struggling, as are most people, I imagine.
Do you know what I was just thinking? There's two packs. If you look at the track map, there's two packs. There's the lead pack and the back pack. But there's also two cars that are all by themselves. That's Harley Chamberlain and Sarka for 10th and 11th place. They're none the wiser. They don't know what happened up front. They don't know what happened behind them. They're having their own race for 10th place. But everybody else is in this absolute kerfuffle. Here is Andres Sarka, who is racing Harley Chamberlain, and they're not near anybody. They have no idea what happened in the front pack. They don't know it just happened a lap ago behind them. It's incredible stuff. Now, these are the only two cars that are kind of by themselves. Actually, now I think about it, actually the 20 of Harsford is, well, Harsford kind of put themselves by themselves. But these two, none the wiser, racing each other for a top 10 spot. Chase your bliss, Sarka. And by the way, remember last race, Tim, where Mikowski's car lost a little bit of pace in the final 10 minutes? Is that going to happen again? Is Calendarino, who is closing back in, who is actually already on the back of the leader in the 570, is that going to give Calendarino a shot at a double win here today? Because that 570 definitely faded in race one in the same conditions. This is going to get really crazy. Torzillo, by the way, in third place. If anything happens with these two, maybe he can take a win here.
Yes, as you say, it's all to play for, and Calendarino is definitely going to be looking for that move back on Mikowski. Both of them now have one win in the championship, but both will be looking to secure that second win. Maybe Mikowski more so because he has a championship and a win to worry about right now. He needs to get this win if he wants to catch up with the current leaders of Fischer and Verstappen. So Mikowski here is going to be giving it his all in defending. We know he can defend because, let's be real, back at Snetterton, that is all he did for 30 minutes, and he did a really good job of it. So Mikowski, we know he's got it in him to defend, but he is going to struggle here, as Fischer is going to try and make an impact on his fight in the championship. That is Verstappen leading that small pack of three, you can see there. Fischer is going to try and get through Wojcik, as we have seen him doing. He is literally looking for that move as we speak. He has been going for the outside, he's been going for the inside, he's trying to find a way through, but if he does, all that splits up Fischer and Verstappen in this race is Wojcik right now. That's a championship battle decided currently by an Aston Martin. So Wojcik definitely does not care for Fischer whatsoever. He's not going to get out of the way by any means, but Fischer is going to want to close that gap as much as he can to Verstappen because he is starting to fall behind in that championship. But we've got these little battles forming, as you've said, we've got these trains forming. Zarka and Chamberlain, they were probably wondering what is happening as they were driving around in quite a big pack, and suddenly one car goes, another car goes, and then they're all alone in the middle of the track. So definitely an odd place to be right now, but we are starting to see these little trains split up into much smaller groups of three. So a lot can happen in these last 7 minutes. I wonder who's going to be the first strike. I imagine Calendarino is going to be ready to take Mikowski at any point he can, but we're watching right now, Lawrence is looking for Boardman. So do not count Lawrence out of this race. He's had a great couple of races so far here at Zandvoort, and it looks like he's going to try and push for that 4th place.
Martin Lawrence needed a good race. A couple of races ago, I felt like he was playing Pong rather than sim racing. So, needs a good drive here, but nearly loses it there. Perhaps tricky conditions trying to get onto the brakes, get set up for the corner, but no harm, no foul, but just a little slide out of the 171 AMG. And if Fischer could get one more spot closer to Verstappen, that would be absolutely mega. I'm sure Fischer right now is a big Wajna fan who would love him to get by Verstappen and probably try to follow him through as is customary. And Calandrino, again, doesn't care about the championship at large, doesn't care about Mikowski's championship fight, doesn't care he's in the top three. This is for a win at the end of the season. He could go from having no wins and no podiums to 2 wins and 2 podiums. That's what he's thinking about, and that's all he cares about. And Mikowski, whose car faded one race ago near the end, could that play a factor? Could that bite Mikowski? Was there adjustments made to the 570 that perhaps made it a bit better here at the end of the race? Passing here is tough, but not impossible in the closing moments. And this, the battle for 6th, Verstappen, Wajna, and Fischer, 2 of these, the top 2 in the championship, came into this race separated by just about 22 points. And it would go up to about 25, 26 points, the difference between first and second, if nothing changes here. If Mikowski was to win this race, I think he would be within about 30 to 35 points. So 35 points, they're about covering the top 3 in the championship going into the final 2 races in Spain. Can you tell this? I'm doing an advert for next week. Join us next week for GT4 action, the finale in season 4 in Spain. We would love to have you there. We're probably going to have a championship battle with 2 cars. It might be with 3 if this result holds today. Also, in addition to that, season 5 details for Thursday night GT4 will be revealed tonight. You can join our Discord, RCI, and get all the information. Sign up for that championship. We have splits for pros right down to rookies, so we have a split for you no matter what your skill level, as we continue to watch the fight for first place. This is Mikowski and Calandrino, and don't take your eyes off that BMW. That's Torzillo in 3rd place back there as well.
Torzillo looking for his first win here. He has been so close so many times, but not quite finding it as they all go very tightly for that chicane. Calandrino is desperately trying to get through Mikowski now. For a second, I thought he'd have had him back through the corners 6 and 7 because he was getting very close to Mikowski's rear there, but still not finding a way through. Mikowski's done a very good job so far defending, and he's got to hang on that little bit longer because we've got 3 minutes 30 left of this race, and Mikowski, as we know, drops off very harshly in this Aston Martin at the end. I mean, he was gaining massively on, I can't remember even who it was now. I think it was Verstappen last race, and started to fall back quite a lot within the final minutes. As we see now coming through the first corner, Calandrino has a much better exit, but unfortunately Mikowski is going to have the position and will just place himself in the middle of the track. Really, if we're looking at this from an analytical point of view, that's all Mikowski has to do here. He just needs to make sure he's still ahead of Calandrino going into every corner, and then just plant himself in the middle of every corner so that Calandrino can't get through. We've said Zandvoort is very difficult to overtake on. It's not impossible, but it's a very thin track, so there's not a lot of room for 2 cars to go around together. So as long as Mikowski can keep himself just ahead of Calandrino here, really it's just a case of planting himself in front of him for a lot of these corners. So I imagine it's going to be a very tight last 2 minutes here, as we see Torzillo cannot be counted out here. The second something happens between Calandrino and Mikowski here, Torzillo will try and push his way through and score himself that first victory if he can find it, as we see Mikowski is starting to go very wide on these corners. Calandrino is taking a much tighter corner line through a lot of these corners. Actually, you can see Mikowski is going a lot wider than Calandrino is, so maybe this is a sign already of Mikowski starting to struggle. Maybe he can't quite find the racing line he needs, as Calandrino is actually coming up towards him on the chicane. He is ready to make that move. Mikowski has got to give it his all if he wants to stay ahead here, but it's getting very tight, and Mikowski, he needs this. It's worth noting actually that Calandrino does, I believe, have the fastest lap in this race so far, which is an extra 2 points, I think, in this championship, and obviously pole position is an extra 3, so Calandrino is going to be walking away with an extra 3 points here, an extra 3 points I think Mikowski would probably want to be holding himself. So we see Wajna now still defending against Fischer. Fischer is desperately trying to get through. I do have to say, not teammates, but a lovely colour coordination and livery coordination in here. It's actually quite pretty to watch them fight out on track. Very nice the blue versus the luminous green / yellow, depending on how you see it. We will not get into that argument today as to whether that is
It's
luminous green or yellow here.
absolutely
No.
yellow. It's
Oh
not
my God.
green.
It's green.
It is absolute. I'm getting fought by my broadcaster producer over here. It absolutely not. Get your eyes checked. That is very much yellow. In the same way that burgundy is not brown. Let's all get that straight right now. But I digress. The two
Come on.
Astons fighting each other for the 7th place position, a fight up front. I believe this is the last lap of the race. This is the last shot. Calandrino has actually fallen off the back of Mikowski ever so slightly, but these three are all still together. One move from Wajna may be all Fisher needs to get by the both of them. Could it possibly be, as a very wide turn by Garrett Fisher there, Wajna staying on the back of the Chevrolet of Verstappen, trying to get that position, trying to get anything. Just get your nose in there, run them wide, maybe give yourself a chance. Meanwhile, up front, nothing changing. Mikowski still leads Calandrino, but they are very close. All three of them together here as they will come down to the final couple of turns, the banked final turns onto the front straightaway. And I think this is pretty much how they're going to finish 1, 2, and 3. I will hold my breath as they get on the straightaway. And indeed, Mikowski is going to do it. From third to the win. Mikowski's going to win it in the 570 from third place. And Calandrino will settle for second toward Zidlow in the 373, the final podium spot. Martin Lawrence caps off his good weekend with a fourth. Andy Boardman in fifth as well. The Streppen does finish in sixth. Wajna seventh. Fisher eighth. Buchek in ninth. Harley Chamberlain looks, yes, like they will finish in 10th over Sarka in 11th, as everybody now is coming across the line. Harsvor, Daly, Rinskrosen, Pimlott, Varga, Tomlin, Svinchek, Mahalan, Arasser, McConnell, Octane, and Rubliar, your finishers. But Billy Octane, who has had a bit of a struggle, comes across the line, but not before touching the wall one more time. Jake Boswell, our only retirement. Tim Peck, what a crazy race, what a crazy weekend. And we go into the final week with 2 races to decide a champion in Spain.
It will be all to play for in Spain. You've got 3 drivers very close together and all very skilled in their own right. Mikowski is gaining very quickly on both Fisher and Verstappen. Verstappen is going to be desperately trying to hold on to his lead here. He will be your championship leader coming out of this week and going into Spain. Verstappen will be leading the championship with, I'd say, a fairly significant points margin. I believe it will be around 20 points, you said, before this race started. So he's going to extend that a little bit. Yeah, he's going to extend that a little bit further here as he does finish a couple of places ahead of Fisher here. So it's going to be all to play for in Spain. You will not want to miss out on the season finale of the GT4 Championship. And what a season it has been so far. I mean, I've been honoured to commentate it so far because coming into this, I was not expecting it to be as exciting as it has. I mean, in the past 3 races, we have had 3 different championship leaders. It went from Abeladze to Fisher, and now Verstappen will start to walk away with the championship. So, as we know, anything can happen going into Spain. It will be a race you will not want to miss out here. So, I mean, put it on your calendar and make sure you don't miss it. Will Mikowski strike from third place and put himself in the first place in the championship? Will Fisher be able to do something on Verstappen and get himself back into first, or will Verstappen defend first place in the championship? Do not miss Spain. Same time here next week.
That's the best advert ever. I couldn't have done that better myself. Folks, October the 14th, the season finale, 2 30-minute races to decide a champion in Barcelona. You are going to want to be there. And also exciting news about GT4, confirmed, returning for a season number 5. And all of the details of season 5 will be made public this evening on the Discord. If you're not a member of our Discord, please join. And you can sign up for that championship. It doesn't matter if you're a pro or a rookie. We have splits for you. And if you are interested in some awesome ACC GT4 action. For us, that's going to be it for us today. But no, don't fret. We'll be back with you tomorrow for Friday Endurance Championship action as that season continues. It's going to be myself, Joshua, and Stewie or Ryan Mawson, depending on who is there. And that kicks off tomorrow at 1900 UTC. That championship's been incredible as well, as we hope to have you there. And the fallout from Bathurst a week ago is it's going to be mega. You're going to want to tune in. There's a lot of storylines there. No Night Owl being broadcast for the rest of the Night Owl season, unfortunately, but the Monday Lambo Cup will be back with you on Monday with Jake the Bosmeister, Boswell, Ryan Gill, and Joshua on the call of that. And of course, next Thursday, Tim and I and Christian will be right back here with you. It's been an incredible day here at Zandvoort. We got to go to Spain to end it, and it's going to be a three-way fight. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Don't miss a single race here. A big thank you to all of you for being a part of the broadcast today. A big thank you to all of our partners as well. And of course, on behalf of myself, Jesse Lee, Tim Peck, and Christian Stricker, we thank you for joining us and have a good night.